The end of McLaren's 26-year wait for another constructors' title edges ever closer to its conclusion as Lando and Norris secures pole position for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in a massive McLaren 1-2. Ferrari, they need a million miracles as Charles Leclerc will start from the back of the grid. From Racing News 365, my name is Nick Golding, and I'm delighted to be joined, as always, by lead editor Ian Parks for the final post-Saturday F1 update. I'm going to do this after every single day. But Ian, we've got to start with McLaren because 1-2, Lando on pole. It's as close to a dream Saturday to end the season that McLaren could have ever hoped for.
Yeah, we talked about on Friday it being a perfect day for McLaren, bearing in mind that what happened to Charles Leclerc in practice, of course, that he had that ERS problem. Ferrari forced to change the battery pack after 30 minutes of practice, and it occurred a 10-place grid penalty. And of course, they came out of Friday practice 1 and 2. They came out of third practice 1 and 2. They've come out of qualifying 1 and 2. But even better, to add to that from McLaren, of course, we've got Charles Leclerc having a lap time deleted during the Q2 session, unable to make it out of Q2 into Q3. And of course, with that 10-place grid penalty, that means he will now start at the back of the grid on the final row. So yeah, a great day for McLaren, a miserable one for Ferrari in many respects. And as you say, they've now got to hope for the mother of all miracles to turn this one around and end their own long wait for the constructors' title going back to 2008. It's not looking good. This is more than an advantage for McLaren. This is something they could never have dreamed of, or in their wildest dreams at least, coming into this weekend, because the belief was Ferrari had the edge. McLaren downplaying it. They were comfortably confident that it was not to their liking, that this hit that the Ferrari would easily be the quickest car around here. That's not proven to be the case. McLaren have just not cruised through these sessions, but boy, have they looked imperious across the entire 2 days so far on Friday and Saturday. And 1 and 2, Lando ahead of Oscar on that front row. I don't think we're going to see any kind of repeat, Nick, as to what happened in the Italian Grand Prix. I really don't think these two are going to be squabbling over positions around the first few corners. You can imagine the word from both Zach Brown and Andrea Stella will be, keep it clean, guys. We don't need any dramas. You go into corners 1, 2, you come out of it 1, 2, and then let's just manage it after that.
It's going to be papaya rules being capital letters and bold as well, I think, in about 96 font for the drivers to wake up to on Sunday morning. But let's talk about Ferrari, because actually Charles Leclerc did set a very, very good time in Q2, which would have been enough to get him to Q3. But as you mentioned, lap time deleted. And we've spoken this season about crucial moments and in particular driver errors. And this is from Leclerc, potentially the most costliest of errors that he's made this season now. But this could be the difference between Ferrari claiming that title this year or not, because obviously anything could happen in a race, but starting from last is, well, not ideal when your biggest rivals are first and second.
Look, Nick, I don't think we can pin it on that one lap. You can't blame Charles just for that one moment of misjudgment. You've got to think that this is over the course of the season. And bearing in mind that he went into qualifying anyway, he and Ferrari went into qualifying pretty much on the back foot, knowing that they were going to get a 10-place grid penalty. Even if he had set the fastest time and would have secured the pole position, but naturally starting from 11th, even with Carlos where he's positioned in the top 10 and then Charles 11th, it would again taken the mother of all miracles, a McLaren catastrophe from that position for Ferrari to have secured the constructors' title on Sunday. So just pinning it down to that one lap, no, you can't do that. As I say, it's over the course of the season in its entirety, where for both teams, McLaren and Ferrari, they've made errors throughout the course of the season. And you can only look back at various stages as to where it went wrong. And if you really want to look and pinpoint the bigger picture for Ferrari, it was that second major upgrade that they delivered at the Spanish Grand Prix that resulted in the team effectively taking a backward step from which they then had to recover over the next few Grand Prix before they finally got it together again a few races later, and then they really showed their hand. So for Ferrari, it's that major upgrade issue that they had in Spain that has really cost them the possibility of this constructors title for the first time in 16 years.
But at least Ferrari do have Carlos Sainz in his last race for Ferrari, starting in third. I mean, how do you think Carlos is going to play this? Because surely the only thing he can do is go ultra aggressive, try and get amongst the McLarens, disrupt their rhythm. Because it's
Yeah.
Carlos could do some damage to McLaren.
Because, as you say, he's got nothing to lose. He's just got to go out there,
One of
give it his
many.
absolute all, try and get ahead of both McLarens at some stage, not necessarily immediately, even though we know this isn't the most easiest of circuits to overtake. Although saying that, over the past 2 years, I think in 22 it was something like 50 plus, and last year it was around the 60 mark. So it's not actually that bad. It's not as bad as people think. Anyway, regardless of that fact, Carlos just has to, as I say, do what he can, and then just hope that McLaren trip over themselves, because that's the only opportunity McLaren have got to get this constructors title, is either that A, McLaren trip over themselves, or B, there's some sort of mechanical failure to their cars, because this is McLaren's quite comfortably to lose now. They are in such a glorious position, as I say, one that they could only have dreamed of coming into the weekend, and here they are. It's absolutely theirs to lose, but I just don't see it happening now. This is quite comfy with McLaren's title.
I mean, in all fairness, though, we've seen McLaren trip over themselves at times this season. Who's to say it couldn't happen again when the pressure is at its highest? Let's discuss Red Bull. Not quite the Qatar-esque turnaround they performed last weekend, but still somewhat of a turnaround given where they were on Friday. Both drivers did make it to Q3, Checo P10, Max P5. And to be fair to Max, he probably delivered the moment, the save of qualifying, one of the saves of the season, coming to the end of his first hot lap. I mean, how he kept that out of the wall, I do not know. I mean, he's Max Verstappen. That's how he kept it out of the wall.
I was going to say, yeah, just 2 words, Max Verstappen. I mean, that was just a moment of pure skill, pure genius, amazing car control, because many lesser drivers, that car would most likely have ended up in the wall. And even Max in the pen, speaking to him afterwards, he recognized for that split moment, as he said, at one point, he was ended up staring out the wall, but somehow, yeah, just Max Verstappen, 4-time F1 champion, poured out a moment of pure genius car control, and somehow still managed to set the best final sector at that particular time. And he was leading the way at that particular time after those first few opening laps in Q3. It was just like, surely he lost loads of time, but no, he pulled it out of the bag. But second lap, yeah, just unable to find the time, and just one of those sessions. Still a great turnaround from where we were on Friday, or where Red Bull were on Friday, that's for sure. And P5 on the grid is aiming for the podium, that's for sure. He could still be a disruptor in all of this. Who knows what role Max might have to play when it comes to McLaren and Ferrari's backup with this constructors title. As I say, we know he's good around this track. We've seen it previously, multiple winner. So is yes for him. He's only got a great race to look forward to, a great end to his campaign, and of course, another bottom line: he's going to be a dad.
He is going to be a
So
dad.
he is going to be a dad. And he was asked about that in the pen as well. He's got that to look forward to next season. Doesn't think he's going to give up all his sim racing exploits, by the way, even though he's going to have a few nappies to change. And, so he's got a great year to look forward to in 25, coming off the back of being a 4-time champion. At least he's going into it, as he was discussing in the pen, with a far more competitive car than it was looking the case just a few Grand Prix ago. So at least Red Bull have got something to build on out of what they'd achieved in Qatar, out of what they've shown so far over the course of this weekend in Abu Dhabi, and who knows what result Max might get on Sunday. So, as I say, it's going to be a fascinating winter for Red Bull. They've got, as I say, a platform on which they can build now, and who knows, Max Verstappen, 5-time champion in 2025. I'm not going to stand here and rule it out because we know what that team are capable of. And we know with whatever car Max is given, we've seen him pull out some extraordinary results against the odds over the course of the season. So as I say, there's a lot to build on for Max and a lot to hope for as well, given it, bearing in mind, as I say, he's going to be a dad in 2025 at some stage.
So yeah, big congrats to Max and Kelly. Max is targeting obviously still a podium on Sunday. One driver who was hoping to target for a podium, and it is very much not so now, is Lewis Hamilton. And obviously what is his final weekend as a Mercedes driver. Looks really, really quick in FP3, was third fastest and seemed to have gotten himself into a good position in the car until, I mean, we can speak about rotten luck, but I think that's an understatement for what happened, of course. Kevin Magnussen hitting a bollard onto the circuit, which just so happened to go under Lewis's car. I mean, you couldn't quite make it up, in all fairness. It was one of those things that could only ever happen in Formula One. But I mean, Lewis now starting provisionally P17 with Leclerc, obviously starting at the back. We know overtaking is more possible now at Abu Dhabi than it used to be since the track changes, but still from P17, at least on the grid, he's in for a very long final race with Mercedes.
Do you know what? Actually, Nick, he is, yes, just to answer your question. But in fairness, he was in a really philosophical mood. Now, don't get me wrong. Lewis Hamilton, on many occasions, has entered the pen post-quali, post-race, and it's been hard to extract answers out of him. On this occasion, look, he knows that he had a car today that could have got him onto the front two rows of the grid. That's what he was aiming for. He was third quickest in final practice. Yes, even though the conditions were not as representative, of course, as they were in qualifying, as they will be in the Grand Prix. But he basically turned around and said that it was the best the car had felt after 5 Grand Prix in a row where he just felt we've got nothing to offer in terms of delivering a performance out of his W15. On this occasion, yes, there was something in that car, and as I say, he'd got the front two rows in his sights. On this occasion, it was just absolutely pure rotten luck. I mean, Kevin Magnussen was moving out of the way, just to get,
Yeah.
in case anybody's not seen it, Kevin Magnussen moving out of the way of a quicker car behind. And in his attempt to get back on the track, Kevin cut a corner and knocked a green and white plastic bollard onto the racing line of that particular corner. And just seconds later, it was Lewis Hamilton that caught that bollard and it got stuck underneath his car. He was just coming out the first 2 sectors. He was a fraction up on being able to get into Q2. Alex Albon was in the drop zone at that particular point, and it looked like Lewis was just going to make it. He went into that lap saying to himself it was going to be tight. And at that stage, after those first 2 sectors, it was proving to be the case. But once he collected that bollard, it was game over. He lost all pace in the final sector, and he limped over the line effectively, 18th quickest at that stage. He will start 16th due to grid penalties for other drivers ahead of him. So he has got an opportunity of at least getting into the points. He knows he's got a good, quick car underneath him. It is a 2-stop race here at Abu Dhabi, so
It is.
strategy is definitely going to come into play as well. So he's looking forward to this final Grand Prix, doing what he can to end it on a high as best as he possibly can. So there's still opportunities for Lewis, but certainly not the opportunities that he was hoping for going into that qualifying session, that's for sure.
Yeah, that bollard probably wasn't the farewell gift to F1 that Kevin was probably wanting to give, but I mean, an interesting moment to say the least. Just to provisionally go through the top, just to go through the provisional top 10 for the grid. Lando Norris on pole with Oscar Piastri. In second, Carlos Sainz. In third, Nico Hulkenberg provisionally in fourth, but has been summoned to the stewards. Max Verstappen in fifth, Pierre Gasly sixth, George Russell seventh, Fernando Alonso eighth, Valtteri Bottas in a solid P9, and Perez P10. Ian, you know what this means? For the final time this season, what is your bold prediction for the season finale?
I'm going to go because just the way the car has performed over the course of these 2 days so far, and just because Valtteri Bottas is looking on it, I'm going to go that Valtteri in the final race of what could be the very final phase of his F1 career, because I say that he's not ruling out a return in 2026. He will score points to end this particular phase and what could be the very end of his F1 career. We can't say for certain, but he's going to end that point scoring drought of this year and he's going to get a top 10 finish. And do you know what, Nick? I really, really hope he does that because Valtteri is one of the nicest guys on the Formula One grid. He doesn't deserve the season that he's had this season with the state F1 team. He does deserve that Tom Tech finish. And I'm sure that many other people will agree as well that they're keeping their fingers crossed for him, that he can get a point at least, even if it's just one. Doesn't matter if he finishes in 10th place, just that 1 point, so he doesn't end with 0 to his name for the first time in what has been a really good F1
Yeah,
career.
absolutely. I like that one. And I think I would like to take that on myself, but I'm going to go for McLaren chaos and a Carlos Sainz win. I want to see a Celtic end of the season. Let's see something crazy happen. So a Carlos Sainz win. Hey, weirder things have happened at the Yas Marina circuit.
I know it's bold, Mick, but I'm going to use your word. That is
It's the end of the
crazy
year.
prediction. Never mind wanting McLaren crazy. Look, guys, they're going to play it so that they're not. Even if they allow Carlos Sainz through, and it's even from there, and McLaren are running 2-3 for argument's sake.
Well,
It's still theirs to lose from that position. So
but you know what? It's
okay,
a bold,
Nick, you're
it's a
entitled
bold
to your end
prediction
of
for a
I
reason.
know, I know. I know, but there's bold and then there's nuts, and that's nuts for me, mate.
It's been a long year, 23 races down, 1 to go. And for those who are watching this video, let us know your bold predictions for the season finale and your thoughts on everything that has happened on Saturday. On top of that, smash the like button, subscribe to the Racing News 365.com channel. Ian and I will see you post-race on Sunday for the final Sunday F1 update of the season. See you later.
As always, take care, folks, and enjoy that final race of the season.